What's up, guys? So Samurai Shodown, the big huge balance patch that changed everything, has been out for a little while at this point, so I thought maybe it would be time to talk a little bit about what the state of the game is like and what I think the current tier list looks like. So first of all, just in terms of overall balance, I think the game is in a really good spot right now. I definitely think that kind of some of the few big issues that people had with balance at EVO have pretty much been completely fixed. And I think almost everyone in the game is viable, except for maybe like the bottom one or two. I think they're all really good and they all have things that make them worth playing now. So that's really awesome, and I'm really happy with everything from that big balance patch. And with that being said, I guess we can just jump into sort of who I think are the best characters, the worst characters, the mid tiers. Let's go ahead. So I think we'll start off with who I think is the #1 best character in the game. I think it's got to be Charlotte. So Charlotte lost very little in the patch. I would say the biggest thing that she lost is her neutral kick, her 5K attack. Lost a lot of frame advantage. That attack was pretty abusable before because it was plus a lot of the time, and it moved you forward. You could bully the opponent with it. Not so much anymore. But she still has everything else that made her really busted before. Like, she has maybe the best fireball in the game. She has a fully invincible dragon punch, which not that many characters have. She has amazing pokes. Her universal overhead knocks down. She has high damage combos. She can press you from really far away. And she has like the best cross-up jump in the game and a low jump arc that makes her really hard to anti-air. So she's just an amazing all-around character, and I think the #1 character that you gotta watch out for in tournament. I think she's gonna be a problem. People are gonna be complaining about this character a lot, I think. But I don't think she's really as broken as like Genjuro was pre-patch. I think she's fair. She's just really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw her there. Let's talk about who I think are like, if she's SS tier, these are the S tier characters that are really amazing but not quite that good. So first of all, I want to talk about Uchiyo. So before the patch, Uchiyo I think was like in contention for top 5, and he didn't really lose much of anything at all. He still has mostly what made him good, which was that he has some really busted kick attacks. His running M cross up, hard to react to. His instant overhead Tsubami Gaish, really hard to react to. High damage. His only real big problem is that his weapon flip kind of sucks, although they did make it a little bit better. You can punish projectiles with it a little bit easier now, but still, I don't think you're going to be landing his weapon flip very much, but I also don't really think it matters. I think the patch helped him a lot in the sense that two of his hardest matchups, which I think were Genjuro and Hanzo, since these two characters got some pretty sizable nerfs, I think that helps him a lot. Plus, you know, characters with invincible dragon punches I think are harder matchups for Uchiyo because they can bust their way through his 50-50, his overhead versus low mix-up. Characters without a dragon punch, they just have to sit there and guess, which can be pretty hard. So I think Uchiyo is an amazing character. I think he is probably top 3 in the game. I think you gotta watch out for him. And he's going to be really hard to block for a lot of characters when he knocks you down. So pretty awesome high-low oriented character there. So these two characters, you know, these guys were really broken before the patch, and now they're still really good. Let's talk about a character who sucked before the patch, and that's Shiki. Shiki, she got a glow up like no other, man. Like, they buffed basically every single aspect of Shiki's kit, and I think she's really amazing now. Like, she has a fully invincible dragon punch, which is nice. I think you'll notice a pattern that a lot of good characters in this game had invincible dragon punches. It's a valuable tool, but she has that. She has high damage. She has a special cancelable running medium, which is pretty rare. Not very many characters have that. She has unreactable high-low and cross-ups. She has a cross-up like jump-in with her jump heavy now. It's just pretty insane. Like, what they gave her, it's wild. She has like good neutral, I think. She has the best super special in the game by far. It tracks the opponent. You can punish fireballs with it for like 90% damage. She's pretty ridiculous. I knew that she would get a lot better with this patch, but I did not realize. I think she went from being maybe the worst character in the game to being like top 3 material. I really think that happened, and I think she's going to be blowing up tournaments, so watch out. She's just a crazy good pressure mix-up character. Once she gets in on you, she really gives you the business. So watch out. I think you're going to be seeing a lot of Shiki in tournaments. And she's a really fun character to play, so I'm glad to see her doing a little bit better now. Next up, high tier characters here. We got Jubei. So Jubei, there was some sort of doom and gloom. He lost the ability to combo into his weapon flip off of back throw, which is a big nerf. Don't get me wrong. But this is something I meant to mention with Uchiyo as well, is that weapon flips are less strong now, because now when you hit the opponent with a weapon flip super, their weapon always lands directly in front of them so they can pick it up. It can't go flying in the wrong direction and go off screen. So weapon flips are a lot less strong as they used to be, which means that not being able to combo into it is not as big of a nerf as you would have thought. And in exchange, now you can no longer punish his bread and butter combo, his medium slash into Dragon Punch. You can't punish it by bursting anymore. So he gets a lot more consistent damage off of punishes and throws. So overall, I think he's better than he was before. And some of his harder matchups did get nerfed. Like, I think Genjuro was a pretty tough matchup for him before. And Genjuro ate a lot of nerfs, obviously. So I think he's in good shape. I think he's a solid character who handles matchups with top tiers well. So I think that Jubei is like a good character choice to pick, and I think you're going to see a decent amount of him in tournament. Next up, I think Galford belongs in this tier as well. Galford got some slight nerfs. A nerf to the log trap sort of combo escape move, which was a pretty big one. Nerf to his cross-up teleport is a little easier to react to. The hitbox on Plasma Blade got changed, so he's a little bit less degenerate now, but I think overall he's just too solid to not be a high tier or top tier character. Plasma Blade is insanely fast, one of the best tools for controlling space in the game. He's got good pokes with his standing medium. Poppy is an invaluable tool that creates so many opportunities for you, and his weapon flip is still ridiculous, one of the best in the game. So I think Galford hasn't really changed that much in the tiers despite his nerfs. He's a pretty amazing character who really shuts down a lot of the cast with his projectiles and zoning. So finally, the last high tier character here, we're just going to put Tam Tam. Tam Tam actually got slightly buffed by the patch because now it's a lot harder to punish his weapon flip with a burst. Usually you're not going to be able to do it like you could before if he combos into it, as long as the Tam Tam player knows what they're doing. So he's a little bit better. I just think that people were kind of figuring the character out as we went along. He seemed so ridiculous when the game first started, but as people get more skilled at doing the universal parry mechanic and stuff like that, his tools like his standing medium slash have become a little bit less good. But don't get me wrong, those tools are still insane. His pokes are amazing. Some of the best projectiles in the game. Really, really great, solid footsies and zoning character. I think he and Jubei are pretty close. I think it's hard to pick which one's better, but they have a pretty similar playstyle, and I think they both share a lot of strengths, just that they can reach really, really far with their slashes. They got good projectiles, and they can hold on to a life lead like no others. So Tam Tam, I think, is a great character as well. Next up, we're going to jump to who I think are the worst characters in the game. We're going to do those, and then I'm going to kind of fill in the middle tiers here. So, characters I think are weak. Unfortunately, I do think that Reishang is one of the worst characters in the game. I know it's ironic, I just made a video of myself kind of getting exposed by a Wu Reishang player, but like, she has a lot of issues. I think that her normals are not really good enough. Like, yes, they made her running medium slash a lot better, but I still don't think it's quite enough. I think her neutral at mid-range is just a little bit too weak to really hang, and I feel like her traps are not quite as good as they should be. The fact that you can roll over them to detonate them, the fact that you can jump in on them and still block, that's a little wild to me. So I just don't find that her overall game plan is that effective. Yes, she does have some really good stuff, like, you know, setting up an unblockable with burst into the trap, into Isen. Like, that's really strong, but I don't really think it's enough to save a character who just kind of struggles at the basic gameplay of Samurai Shodown. She can't really hang in neutral with a lot of good characters, so, you know, I think that she can win, but it takes a lot of work, and you have to be a really skilled player to make it work. Next up, another character who I think is pretty bad here is going to be Rimururu. Unfortunately, the newest DLC character, she's got some stuff, don't get me wrong. She has good grounded anti-airs, which is very rare in this game, with her Dragon Punch and her quarter circle back Light Slash. These are great grounded anti-air moves, good at stopping jumpers, and she has good corner Oki as well. If she sets up like her ice platform, that's effective. She can 50-50 you when you're getting up. But other than that, I just don't think she's that good. I think her neutral is very weak. She has some of the worst running attacks in the game. Her damage is like fine, but nothing really to write home about outside of those Oki 50-50 situations. I just don't find her to be that good of a character, and I was hoping that she would get some stuff in the patch, but she didn't really get anything. I kind of feel like you're seeing a pattern here that like zoning and trap type characters, the game is not made for them to be good. The game is made for characters with huge full screen reaching slash normals to be good. Those are kind of the characters that have ended up being higher tier. Whereas these guys who rely more on projectiles, on setups, on mix-ups, they're a little less good. But again, I think these guys, you can win with them. It's just hard. They struggle a little bit in neutral, but I think it's possible. Moving on up, I guess we'll do like the lower mid characters here. These are characters who I think are definitely viable, but maybe not quite good enough, you know, for your average player to do really well with them. So first I'm going to put Darley Dagger. Darley Dagger I think is actually a lot better since the patch. The patch helped her a great deal. It's just there's a lot of competition. You know, there's a lot of competition in these tiers, these mid and lower mid tiers. And I don't think she's quite good enough to hang with some of the higher characters up here. But her combos with her close heavy slash and her jumping heavy slash are much better now. It's just I feel like she has some issues with anti-airs. She has some issues, you know, reliably getting hits mid-screen I think is a little bit tough. And she relies on jumping a lot, which is not terrible. There are some characters that are like that, like, you know, Charlotte or Yoshitora, but she relies on jumping to kind of play neutral, which is not an effective long-term strategy, especially against characters with invincible DPs. So unfortunately, that's why I have her down here. I still think she's really good, but there are a lot of really good characters in this game right now. Next up, I want to put Earthquake. Earthquake, again, like, he's a really good character. I just don't think he quite stacks up against some of the more busted characters in the game. Like, his zoning and his annoyance factor is really high, but I just don't know if that lends itself to like a solid game plan, and he's pretty vulnerable to rushdown from characters like Shiki, Uchiyo, you know, some guys I'll talk about later. When he's on his back, when he's on the defensive, he can definitely eat it pretty bad, but you know, he's fine. The patch just didn't help him that much. Next up, let's put Nakoruru here. I think Nakoruru has a lot of potential. I feel like I've been saying this since day one. She has a lot of potential, but I just feel like you have to make too many hard reads to really get damage with her. You have to know what the opponent's going to do really well to take advantage of her short range, her kind of high commitment attacks. A lot of her attacks are unsafe, so you're really trying to make that read and get the hit so that you don't put yourself in a punishable situation. Her weapon flip is really good. She has that going for her. It's just that her normals, to me, leave a little bit to be desired, and her anti-airs are kind of awkward. She relies a lot on air-to-airs, but unlike someone like Jubei or Tam Tam, her air-to-airs are not like anything mind-blowing. So that's why I have her down here. I love the character, don't get me wrong. I just think she kind of struggles a little bit in some matchups. Next up, let's go ahead and put Yashamaru down here. Yashamaru, again, it feels so bad putting all these good characters down here. Yashamaru is a good character, don't get me wrong. He's good, but I just don't think he's good enough to be up here. His weapon flip is pretty bad, maybe the worst in the game. It's just never really one that you can land consistently. And yeah, he's got some good pokes for sure, and he can bait things with double jump really effectively, but a lot of his special moves are unsafe on block. Well, I guess like all of his special moves are unsafe on block, which is not that unusual in this game, but usually, you know, you'll at least be able to confirm into them more easily, or you'll be able to, you know, punish from far away with them. I just don't think he's that good at that. He relies, kind of similar to Nakamura, on some hard reads, and it's a little bit tough. You really open yourself up to dying when you mess up with this character. And then finally, Kyoshiro. Kyoshiro is a lot better, obviously. He got like 1,000,000 buffs. I'm just not sure that it's enough. Like, he has some really good pokes, but I feel like his high-low is just a little bit too, like, the risk-reward is not in his favor. And the unblockable frog is good. You can kind of treat it like a command throw, you know, where if they're just blocking, they are going to get hit. But if they jump it, dude, you're going to eat like a super special or something. It's a very high-risk move. So I definitely think he's viable, which I don't necessarily think he was before. But I think he struggles to actually get in and force hits. He kind of relies on like dirtling, getting a life lead and kind of turtling it out. But once he loses the life lead, I think it can be a little bit difficult for him to get it back because his offense is a little bit jank. Okay, let's move up to the upper mid tiers here. Maru, still really amazing. He lost some stuff. I would say the biggest thing that he lost was his running light. That move used to be really abusable. One of the most busted normals in the game. They nerfed it a lot. It's unsafe on block now. It sucks. I mean, the move's still usable, but it's a shame. He lost one of his best tools. He's still got an invincible Dragon Punch. Still got a great Fireball. Still got a pretty good weapon flip technique, but not as busted as it was before, notably. So I think he's still solid, but not exactly top tier material like he was before. Next up, Genjuro. Obviously, Genjuro lost a ton. He went from being the best character to being kind of middle of the pack, in my opinion. But he still has some busted stuff. He still has the card throw that leads into the overhead. Ridiculous tool. He still has a command throw. Yes, the range is shorter and it isn't as fast anymore, but he still has a pretty solid command throw that's a lot harder to punish than a normal throw. Still got an invincible Dragon Punch. He can't use the light one anymore with like no recovery, but still got an invincible Dragon Punch. Got a hard to react to cross up. He's still got a lot of dirt. He's just not nearly as broken as he was before. Next up, Yoshitora. I kind of hear some like doom and gloom talk about this character. A lot of people think Yoshitora is like terrible now. I don't really agree. He does definitely struggle in zoning matchups though. I would say against Tam Tam, Jubei, Galford, Charlotte. These are very hard matchups for Yoshitora because it's hard for him to get in. His neutral is not really that amazing. But once he does get in, he's still pretty tough to deal with. Very high damage. Very high risk, high reward character, I would say. And his jump heavy, even though it can't cross up anymore, still a pretty abusable normal. And then finally, Hanzo. Maybe Hanzo might be like the more outlandish pick on this tier list. I feel like he's kind of underrated by a lot of people, but he's strong, dude. Hanzo's very strong. His teleports are no joke. Teleport into a Zuna drop, so hard to react to. He's got some pretty busted normals, similar to Galford. He's got that stand medium slash. He's got the far heavy slash, which then he can tick into his command throw off of. He just seems like a great character to me, and a pretty amazing fireball as well, especially when he's in rage. So, yeah, that's my sort of upper mid tier here. So, yeah, I guess this is pretty much it for the tiers right now. And let me know what you think down in the comments. I feel pretty decent about this, but obviously, you know, some of these guys could be moved up or down. Like, you know, who knows? Stuff like this, changes like this could happen over time. Very hard to say, but for now, this is kind of how I'm feeling. And once again, I just want to reiterate, I think Samurai Shodown is extremely well balanced right now. I think because of the strength of some of the universal mechanics, like, you know, the universal deflect, dodge, throw, being able to combo off of throw. Things like this are so strong that it kind of equalizes the characters a bit, and I think that pretty much everyone is viable. I think I would be really surprised if we see Reishang or Rimururu in a big tournament top 8. I would be really shocked because I think they're extremely difficult. I think it's an uphill battle, but I think it's definitely doable if you're committed to the characters. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.